everyone, I'm Lynn with Psychic Focus at psychicfocus.blogspot.com, and today I wanted to attack a pretty hot topic that's out there. I've heard about it several times and talked about it over the weekend, so I wanted to have a look at George Floyd and really what is going on there. What's the full story of what actually happened to this guy and the subsequent riots and so forth and chaos that's happened as a result of it. So I'll just go ahead to one of the questions that was sent to me that I felt they were worded, or this question was worded rather well. A lot of information given really helps to paint a picture and let you know where this person's coming from. So the question that I pulled says, I'm watching over the two videos that were taken and documented Floyd's death. There's some suggestions that this could be a staged event. The first video of the pullover and arrest shows very little signs of conflict or confrontation, where Floyd is very compliant with the other officer putting him in handcuffs. The second is Floyd being pushed to the ground and held down on the necks, and it seems suspicious to me because of the very articulate narration of the photographer who's taken a near professional quality video while shooting. So they're looking at the video, they're really questioning what is happening, why does this seem to be like the right place, the right time, and this photographer is able to capture all this. Also suspicious is the way Floyd seems to die after 5 minutes and then is tossed on a gurney by emergency medics who don't even try to resuscitate him. And then they go on to ask about, and they say, George Floyd, he was incredibly fit and tall, 40-year-old, and if he was unable to breathe, as he said, how was he able to talk continuously for 5 minutes asking the cop to get off? Seems being pinned for a short time like this would not cause death unless he had a heart attack or some other drug-related medical condition. There seems to be at least 4 cops on the scene, which certainly could have gotten Floyd into the car. So it's not like the offending officer was alone and they really needed to go through all of this to be able to get him arrested if that's what they felt they needed to do at that time. Another thing is that Minneapolis is a large minority city where cops would be instructed on community-sensitive procedures, especially at the age of cell phones and body cams, if for no reason other than self-preservation. And cameraman in the second video raises suspicion because of his expert handling, panning, and keeping the camera steady while giving a blow-by-blow narrative asking the officer to get off of Floyd. Turns out that Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's daughter put out a call for funds to help fund Antifa and organize a riot. The big beneficiary of this was Biden himself, whose creepy Memorial Day appearance in the black mask and sunglasses made him look like he was trying to become president of Antifa, maybe even secretly signal that they needed a race riot to distract from his problems. So, the root of the question here, was George Floyd's arrest and death a deliberate political false flag, or just a horrible spontaneous circumstance? To me, it seemed like a misdirection event to distract from Biden's verbal gaffe on the race and to deflect attention away from the reopening of America. But what do you see looking into this event? And I went in and I put a link on my blog itself where Ilhan Omar's daughter, she really did get caught for trying to fund this chaos. I also put a YouTube video out there where you can see what happened to George and the circumstances that led up to his passing, if you haven't seen it already. So I took all this in, and I really wanted to take time to think on it because there are so many different things at play here when it comes to what exactly happened. What happened that day in that moment? And when I first tuned in on this topic, I did get, there is a lot happening here. And I find myself rewinding to days and even weeks that led up to the actual event. And it doesn't just feel like a random event on a random day. There was definitely some build up to this, and the man's tragic death was a pinnacle point. And I do get that he did pass away. I mean, there's a lot of theories out there. Did he really not? Did maybe they injected him with something? Maybe something else was happening. But I get he really did. He did suffer this, and he did pass away. And then I heard the phrase that racism is like a virus, and it can be stoked to spread faster than any beer bug out there. And as the beer bug loses its potency, a new boogeyman needed to emerge, needed to take front and center stage here. Businesses are starting to reopen, and also people have started to reach the real threshold for their tolerance. And even people that were scared are starting to lessen their fears, and they're starting to get out in society again. And the powers that were, that I refer to all the time, they need to get the fear and the chaos back out there again, because that's ultimately what they've learned helps them keep control. They can control people when they're scared enough. And so they needed to get another thing out there. So instigating a race war was just a thing of what they needed. So I got that within some of these larger minority cities, the powers that were intentionally getting tensions on the rise. And it was almost like they either had plants within law enforcement areas within the force themselves, or some other kind of an incident that made the cops without a strong moral compass teeter their character. Because even people that maybe have strong convictions and they know that doing anything racial or anything bigoted, that is completely wrong. But there's some people out there that are kind of weak, and they can be swayed in either way, either through circumstance or programming and that kind of stuff. And I felt like that is exactly what happened. And it was like they had false ideas implanted or perceptions that needed to be extra vigilant against minority people, and some type of brutality. It was bound to happen. They didn't know exactly the when, they didn't know the where. They weren't sure how it was going to happen, if it was going to be a death, an injury, a beating, something, but they knew that they were stoking something. And I got that the timing and the outcome most definitely met their expectations. This is exactly what the goal was when they started this whole thing. And I got that the powers that were, they also knew that it was going to be easy to boost chaos once something happened. People are having a difficult time with coming out of quarantine. You've been segregated away. The economy is struggling, businesses, unemployment. People are having really hard times. Even maybe mental challenges. You've been quarantined away from other people and socialization for so long, that takes a toll on people. So having a white cop injure and kill a black man, regardless of any excuse that could have been out there, or any kind of rationale, it is exactly the spark that they needed to instigate a fire. So they created a scenario in which this was bound to happen. And to make it worse, the powers that were, I got busting people intentionally to cause chaos and riot in the street. There is a cascading effect that once you have a riot in force, once it's already happening, that people will join in because they want to be part of what's going on. And as long as the fuel continues to be put on the fire, it's going to just keep going and going. The powers that were, they're going to make sure that they maximize what they started. They don't put their effort into it without really trying to play upon what's going on. I saw the powers that were wanting to assert more control and fear. Some cities have curfew, National Guards have been deployed, and most importantly, the media has a new story to put out there. The gateway to martial law is on the way, and people are going to embrace it. Unless you're part of the paid chaos group, then of course you're going to resist it. But that's all part of the chaos, right? This also serves as a great distraction while the Dems strategize their plan approaching the election. The Dems do not want to create a situation where Biden debates or he talks too much in public. Biden needs constant talking points, and he needs coaching. They know this. If they're going to win, they know they got to coach this guy through this thing. He cannot handle himself and the real him. And there's also suspects that he's got either a body double or some kind of clone out there, which I haven't even done a reading on that yet. Regardless, it's not working for them. And I see that until the election is over, there's going to be one fear tactic followed by another. And that was really all I had on this reading. If you live in one of these areas, if you're in the city, you're witnessing this, or you have this going on, I mean, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment. Or regardless, what are your thoughts on this? Do you feel this is manufactured? Do you think this is just part of just more chaos being stoked and instigated out there, that they want to cause further division? Because that's exactly how I felt as I read into this. This was an intentional thing to get people riled up, create more separatism, and all of that kind of stuff. So I'd be curious your thoughts. Please leave a comment. Again, I'm Lynn with Psychic Focus at psychicfocus.blogspot.com. Thank you for listening. Bye.